The People's Democratic Party's presidential candidate and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is expected to close his case this Friday, challenging the declaration of Bola Tinubu as president. Now, this comes against the backdrop of what analysts say has been a profoundly chastening period for Nigeria's main opposition party, including major defeats at the 2023 general elections. With the elections now over, calls are being made from the inside for rebuilding and reconciliation through the launch of a peace initiative. Chief Bode George is a chieftain of the party and is a one-time deputy national chairman in the South for them as well. He joins us now to talk about this, as well as sharing his thoughts on Bola Tinubu's performance after 3 weeks of being president of Nigeria. Thank you for coming this afternoon. Welcome to Newsday, Chief Bode George.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to share my views with other Nigerians.
And it's always a pleasure for us to hear your views as well. We just read in the intro that the PDP, your party, is set to close the case on Friday at the presidential election tribunal. What are your thoughts on how the process has evolved? And are you still confident about what your party seems to be their mandate come Friday?
Yeah. Barring all unforeseen circumstances, I think we presented a justifiable, very justifiable evidences, and I pray that God the Almighty will guide the members of the Judiciary to honor that other arm of government that is independent. And you know what I like about the judiciary is that they are symbol in front of every court, that lady of justice, blindfolded with a sword and a scale. She doesn't care what you look like, what your tribe is, what language. She's supposed to dispense justice as is defined before her. So we're looking forward to a successful and fair and just justice from the panel. It will be historical. It will be historical. So those who are involved today want to have their names in the golden pages of our history. And I pray that God will work on their minds to tell the truth.
Now, Chief George, thank you so much for that. I would like to take us back a bit. Earlier in one of your interviews with Arise News, you alleged that a former Commissioner for Science and Technology in Lagos State, Olufemi Odubi, was a mole, planted in INEC by President Bola Tinubu to subvert the will of the electorate in the presidential election. He has denied this, and of course, INEC has also denied appointing him as head of the ICT. Can you clear the air, on this controversy?
I had done that before in another interview. I said that it was the name of that particular gentleman. It wasn't the former commissioner in Lagos State. Their names are very close. Whether Odusi or Odulan or Odu something, but it sounded like I can remember now. I'm not a young man anymore, but it was not him, but the same name. The first Odu something started. That's the one that was there. In INEC, and with information that I've gathered, the Amazon, the actual manufacturers of the technology and the machines used, is ready to come and testify that it was not a glitch, like we were told by the INEC chairman, that that system was switched off. So we're all waiting for the outcome of that decision. But it was a slip of tongue when I mentioned his name. They started the same way, but and I've cleared it before. I can't remember now the name of the other fellow who had been inside there, in INEC. But it wasn't the Odusi. There was this. I had done that before in your program. One of the program that came after that day.
Well, thank you for helping us clear it up here on Newsday. We are about 3 weeks into the new administration of President Tinubu, and tribunal aside, he has hit the ground running. There have been some very bold executive decisions made in order to stabilize the country. And we're also in a period where people are talking reconciliation, just trying to move forward. Could you tell us more about some of the reconciliation efforts that are being put forth by the PDP, and also how the PDP is doing as well? What are some of the things the party is doing in order to restructure itself after somewhat poor performance during the elections?
Now, thank you for that question. The first part of it you asked was, how do I feel about the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks into his administration? Today is 21st, and the inauguration was on the 29th. So it's not yet exactly a month. But like I said in one of the other programs I've appeared, this game and this journey is not a 100-meter dash race. So far, so good. It is fairly done. The redistribution of all the positions, and they must ensure that inclusivity must be the watchdog of his administration. You cannot abandon any zone in the distribution of your appointments. As long as you do that, Nigerians, no matter what corner of this country they come from, will have that sense of belonging. And it's like I said, all the issues, all the things they have touched so far are reasonable. I don't expect it to be perfect now, but so far, so good, and we are looking for more. It's a long journey, because that's it. It's not Lagos. Abuja is not Lagos. In Abuja, because I've gone through all these experiences, every 24 hours, you will find before you Hausa Fulani, the Yorubas, the Igbos, the Ijos, the Beri-Beris, all different tribes of this country coming before the president and laying their own request for one thing or the other. And you need the prayers of the Almighty God to direct you. It is not easy, making a decision at that level. So we should pray for our country. All will be well. We don't want this nation to end up like Sudan, or to end up like Somalia. And the other point which you asked is, what are we doing? Now, they know we're waiting in the courts. After the first court, the Supreme Court will also give their own verdict, because I'm sure we are confident that the election was mismanaged, it was not properly done. I was particularly very, very sad, because the day the former president, who was my boss in the military, told the whole world that he is going to leave a positive legacy, that there will be a new beginning in this country, that the electoral process will be modernized like it's done in the developed world. I threw a party in my house saying, now the will of the people will be respected. Now, this was tested, the same system that they bought. They budgeted about 300 and something billion. They bought the machines. It was tested in Anambra. It went pretty good. It was tested again in Ekiti. It was very good. They tested it again in Osun. It was good. And before the election, the chairman of INEC, Professor Yakubu, made a broadcast that they had done a test run and everybody was looking forward to a new dawn in the country. That for the first time, the will of the people will be respected. Because all those manipulators, all those interlopers will not have time to get involved in the electoral process. But suddenly, on the day of election, we were told there was a glitch. You know, when I heard that, it brought my mind back to the time I was in the Navy as a weapons systems engineer. You know, I thought, let's imagine we were at sea for war and the opposition or the enemy ship fired a missile coming to my own ship. Our early warning radar will pick it up. Now, the computers will do all the calculation, the time, the speed at which that missile is flying, and the time of flight that it can hit your ship if you don't take any action. And the weather systems and all that will be computed. And you are now telling me that you imagine on that D-Day, that very hour, your computer stops working. How is that possible? These things are designed to be robust. That if one channel is blocked, there are so many other channels. We can't afford to waste and just die, like, you know, thinking back on my military days. The only thing, he would assign the weapons for you, and the only thing the captain needed to do on time was press fire button so that we can counter that missile flying at us. So on that D-Day, suddenly from nowhere, you announced there was a glitch. Therefore, we were going to reverse back to the old mundane, archaic system. That is what has landed us in this. We believe in our party. We have evidences that we have presented to the justices, and I pray that God will give them that courage, that tenacity to look at all the evidences before them and, barring any influence from anybody, tell the truth to power. We're looking forward for that, and that is on the issue of election. The next one you asked was what is going on with PDP. Yes, we had our own problems before the elections. Now, we are in the process of doing a thorough post-mortem analysis. What happened? Where did we go wrong? And why did we take certain decisions? And who were those who were not able to play along with the team? And if they did that, why did they do that? You need to do all those which in the medical language they call a post-mortem analysis. The journey of that has started. We congregated yesterday, and the acting chairman told us that he's been meeting various groups of people. That's very, very encouraging. And as I believe in this country today, the only national party that is second to none is the People's Democratic Party. And you know why? The founding fathers sat together in 1998 and looked at the problem of Nigeria from 1960, the First Republic, what were those problems that were so heavily battering the progress of our nation. And they came out with this observation that there was a perpetual friction between the majority tribes and the minority tribes. The majority tribes held on to power and they had their way and their say, while minority tribes were just mere onlookers. Of course, there can be progress. Because the day you were born, you didn't ask God, please, sir, send me to be an Hausa Fulani man, or send me to be an Ijaw man, or send me to be a Yoruba man. You just came. And that's why in the Holy Book, God told us, love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others what you will want them to do unto you. And so there was perpetual friction. I can't go into details now, but that led us to the division, the first coup in 1966, January, the counter coup in 1966 also, July, and all the imbroglio sent us to the first civil war. No nation can go through civil wars twice. So, in 1998, when General Abdul Salami was leaving, these old men who had been practitioners politically came together and decided that, look, we must find a solution to this issue of majority versus minority. They sat together and divided Nigeria into 6 geopolitical zones. If you look at our constitution, all these zones are not there. It was some thinking that came from them. How brilliant. They divided the north, northeast, northwest, north central. So the majority and minority. In the south also, southwest, southeast, south. And came up with 6 top positions in the land. The president, the vice president, the senate president, the speaker, the secretary to government, and the national chairman of the party. You see, 6 zones, 6 top positions. Now every zone will go home with one of these. So inclusivity became the order of the day. They came together that they are now formed people who could not sit in one room together politically, like Chibola Ige and Papa Alex Ekweme in the same political field. That's not possible. Or with Jim Wobodo, Papa Solomon La, so many of them like that. And for the first time, there was the first national political party in Nigeria was established that has the full colors from the swampy forest to the savannah region. That is why, and the moment you touch any of those parameters, you are looking for trouble.
Okay, Chief George.
We must rebuild the party, and that process started yesterday. I am very, very, very confident that this party will come back. First, let's listen to the judiciary, and after that, we will conclude the methodologies of what we are going to do to revamp the party will be there. Because it is not just a congregation of strange bedfellows. That's what I call the APC. But ours.
Well, Chief George, let me interrupt you there. We know that former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, and even some other members of the G-5, they've been meeting with the current president, Bola Tinubu, at the presidential villa in Abuja. So I'm wondering, if this gentleman will also be part of the reconciliation process, or are we seeing, their exit from the party? Is their exit from the PDP imminent?
No, don't let me jump the gun. The process has just started. The political party is not a private company. It is a voluntary organization. The committee that will now be the reconciliation committee that will be established must reach out to everybody, because no individual is bigger than the political party. So they will reach out to them. The decision whether they will stay on A or go to another lane B will be purely their decision. But that you will now shut some people out and don't discuss with them means you yourself are not serious. You must open your flanks to everybody. And my advice is simple. You know, nobody knows your house than you. Nobody can know your house than you. If you are jumping ship to join another ship, you don't even know the kind of problems that they have there. So you need to do a very deep thinking. You will meet people there. You will have the same characteristics of the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, like they say in local parlance here in Hausa, they say kadankada. In Igbo land, they say wayo wayo. In Yoruba, suru, musuru, suru de lere. That's the way we do it. And the Englishman will tell you, take it easy. Patience, patience, patience is a virtue. Don't just jump. We will, the party, I am sure, with what we discussed yesterday, will reach out to everybody.
All right.
You never close the doors of a political party. It's like a police station. You know, you don't close the doors of any police station.
Of course not.
People will walk in and walk out. And if they want to remain, fine. If they want to go and join another party, fine.
Well, Chief,
you know, some people
Chief
left
Bode George.
They came back to us.
Chief, sorry to interrupt you. We have so many questions for you, but so little time. There's also the small, as other people say as well. But I want to speak about your background in the military and get your expertise on this current situation. What do you make of the former chairman of the EFCCC, founding chairman of the EFCC, Nuhu Ribadu's appointment as National Security Advisor? The talk, even though he has done quite a bit in the past, most of the talk is about the fact that he has no military background and has been appointed for such a position. I'm wondering if this comes into play at all, or is this a case of fresh new eyes might be what needs to take this insecurity situation in Nigeria to the level of being non-existent? What's your opinion on that?
No. As a military officer, retired general, if you look back into the history of this country, I remember that some other people who were non-military had been national security advisors. I remember during the time of General Buhari's administration, military administration, there was a gentleman from Castina too. I don't remember his name, but he was a civilian. Maybe he had a dint in the police, I don't know. But he was, I can't remember his name, age now, he's catching up. But he was non-military. Then during General Abacha's administration, we also had this man from Kano, who was a former police officer. He was also the national director of national security advisor. I've forgotten also his own name. Now, the onus is on the president. You need a competent person. Need somebody with experience. You need somebody who will be humane, who will exhibit that dynamism, that patience, that depth of serious analysis in terms of information gathering, dissecting it, working amicably with the defense chiefs and the service chiefs to protect our country, the interests of our nation. So
Chief Bode
but it is his choice. It is his choice to decide on who will work with him and make sure that this nation, like I said at the beginning, we want peace in Nigeria. We don't want to end up like Somalia or end up like Sudan. So we need prayers.
Yes, we do.
It is just starting off. And Nuhu Ribadu too himself has some training and some exposure to this nation, the things he had done in the past. And I wish him, like we say in the Navy, fair winds as he sails along.
Thank you so much for that, Chief George.
God always give him good weather. Right, so I wish you
Also,
well.
one final question before we wrap up this interview. I would like you to react to President Bola Tinubu's June 12th speech, in which he said that those who cannot accept the pain of defeat do not deserve the joy of victory. What's your reaction to that?
My reaction is that was misplaced. That kind of language is not what you need to hear now for somebody whose case of the election results are still pending in the court. You know, it is time for absolute humility and the fear of the Almighty God. Prayers for this nation. There's no arrogance in public management. You are the servant of the people. You should never talk down on anybody. And I would advise that such language, those people who are the speech writers, don't threaten anybody. If it is true that you got the will of the people to put you there, your outing must perpetually look like you are there and you are out to serve your people, to make sure you manage their resources for their benefit, and that you protect the lives and properties of your citizens. Threat is meant for non-democratic government. But here, you will appeal to the people. Let us see your point of view. Let us see what problems you have. But to start threatening them, like anybody who doesn't believe this is that, the case is still pending. And a lot of people will interpret it as if you are threatening the judiciary. And the government is made up of 3 independent bodies: the executive, the legislative arm, and the judiciary. If you remove this 3-legged body, there will be instability. So, speech writers, be very careful. And the Oga Kwata there too should moderate his own reach, so that people don't misread his intentions. I wish Nigeria well. Some people, I think the Punch, I will mention them, were the ones trying to malign my name by saying I want to go and work there. I want to go work where? To do what? At my age, what am I looking for? Look, I was made a military governor at the age of 42. And I retired from the military, serving General Dia in that same villa. I worked as a civilian, as the vice chairman of the party, a stalwart of the PDP, working with Baba Obasanjo for 8 years. I had also worked, I became deputy chairman overall for our party, and I was director general for Yaradua for his election. What is there in the villa that I have not seen, that I have not worked? All I said was, look, they say, oh, suppose he calls you. Well, he calls me as an individual. The PDP is not my private enterprise. I will refer them to my party to consider, are you going to go into a coalition with this man, with their party or not? It has nothing to do with an individual. I can't serve it with anybody anymore, where I have been for how many years. So I am saying this now. Very soon I'm going to pull out of partisan politics, and I'm not joking. At the end, I want to make sure that the founding fathers handed over the management of this party to people like us. The few of us that are still alive, we want to make sure that we mentor the younger generations coming, and we hand over a healthy party, an envious party, a politically stable party, so that it can continue. Because it's not it's not a 100-meter dash race, and nation building is a continuum. It's not a start, stop, no.
And on that note,
the same.
And on that note, Chief Olabode George, always great to have these discussions with you here on Newsday. We are out of time. Thank you so much for honoring us and joining us this afternoon.